So welcome everybody. I am Kelly Bacon. I am the Nebraska Museums Association president. I'd like to welcome you all to our monthly museum musings, as we are, I think that's the correct name now, right? It's the updated name. Hope it better reflects that, yeah, we're not, doing just one thing in museum work. We're doing all sorts of different things. So this month's topic is about our conference that is currently scheduled for April in Holdrege, but knowing that the pandemic is still going on, we wanted to hear from our members and just see and what their feelings were about attending in person, attending virtually, postponing again, so we just kind of wanted to give everybody's thoughts. But I'd like to start out with introductions for everybody, and just so we kind of keep this in an orderly way, I think I'll just call on people so there isn't some sort of weird lull or people talking over each other. So Karen, you get to go first.
My name is Karen Kier, and I am the photograph curator here at History Nebraska, and I'm also the communications person for NMA. I run the website and the social media pages.
Yeah, sorry, Karen Wagner. I forgot there's two Karens on this.
Oh.
I meant Karen Kier, so she was correct. And is it Kirsten Parker?
Correct, Kirsten, and I'm with the Golden Strike Tower in North Platte, Nebraska.
And Audrey?
I'm Audrey Cotters, and I'm on the board of NMA, and I'm retired from the Museum of Nebraska Art, and I'm here in Kearney.
Okay. Erin?
Hi, I'm Karen Wagner. I am the archivist for the Nebraska State Capitol. So all kinds of cool architectural stuff going on here, especially with the HVAC renovation. We're at the beginning of each phase. Everybody's, wait, what's behind that wall? So I'm putting a lot of technical, not so fun stuff for the project. But then with the pandemic, I've got a lot of downtime, and I've been doing a lot of digitization. So now the question is, what will they let me do with it once it's digitized? Do I put it online, or do I just get to sit on it?
April?
Hi, my name is April White. I am the director at the G.W. Frank Museum of History and Culture in Kearney, Nebraska. And I also serve on the NMA board as well as the assistant communications director. I'm pretty sure that's my editor, sorry, not director, editor, the assistant communications editor on the Nebraska Museums Association board. And I put together and send out the monthly newsletter.
Margot?
I'm Margot Prentice, curator of Cass County Historical Society.
And Erin?
I'm Erin Hauser. I'm the curator of the Saunders County Historical Society in Wahoo, and I'm the current vice president of NMA.
I will add that Margot is also the secretary of the NMA board.
Yeah, and I'm going to try and take, some notes of things too, but Margot, as secretary, would you mind, helping me and just, taking, you don't have to do like full minutes or anything, but just, maybe some highlights or something. Like I said, I'll do it too, but that way we can have two people kind of trying to record conversations. So, Tammy.
Tammy Hendrickson with the Custer County Museum, and also one of the reps on the NMA. During the same thing, we did a lot of scanning things in our pandemic things, but it's like, can you release jail log things? That's our, it's like, well, they're there, but now what kind of time frame can they be?
But if they're a public record, you can release them.
They were county records as a log, so.
Yep.
So I'm thinking, whoo-hoo, the bootleggers are out then.
Yeah, so if it's basically the same information if you went to like the prison database, and and if it's out, it's a public record.
It matches up with them because some of them say send
only
us
thing you can't the only thing you can't release is like social security numbers and medical information. Boom.
No, it doesn't give gives kidnapping, gives rape things, gives bootlegging, and gives intoxication, gives stealing chickens.
Public record. Public record.
Very interesting.
I did, a mugshot exhibit, so I'm pretty versed in it.
Yeah, and these are 1914 to 1942. Very interesting in that prohibition time.
Brock, you're next.
Hi, my name is Brock Anderson. I'm the Community Engagement Director for the Buffalo County Historical Society / Trails and Rails Museum. It's been a few months since I've been on, but now that things have slowed down, I'm happy to be back on and participating in the NMA networking.
Katie.
Hi, I'm Katie. Sorry, I forgot to change my name from Santa.
That's
to
okay. I'm like,
Katie.
who is that?
We did a Zoom with Santa, and mine was the Santa, and we didn't want my name popping up and ruining Christmas. I'm at the Hastings Museum. I do education stuff, and I'm in the planetarium, so if I'm super echoey, that would be why. We're in the middle of getting our star projector to go virtual, so I didn't want to move everything.
Lynn.
Hi, I'm Lynn Ireland. Formerly worked for History Nebraska, but continue to be an area rep on the NMA board. And I also have been having a very weird deja vu the last couple of days, because in 2017, at this exact time, I was in Washington, D.C. to be sworn in as a member of the National Museum and Library Services Board. And boy, what a difference 4 years makes.
Yeah. Sydney.
Let's see. I didn't want to distract you all with the other stuff I'm doing at my desk, so I'm keeping my camera off. Hi, I'm Sydney. I am the executive director at Jocelyn Castle in Omaha, and I also serve as a representative on the Nebraska Museum Association.
And Amy.
I'm Amy Newman, the collections assistant at Gage County Historical Society in Beatrice, and also work at Homestead National Historical Park as the museum technician.
Yeah, it's great. Yeah, and Homestead has a new, name and everything.
Yep.
It's a little hard to get used to, I'm sure, after saying, National Monument for so long.
Right. Yeah.
Great. Well, I would like to, again, welcome everybody to this Zoom. We hope to get, some good discussion about the conference and everything, and help the board decide what exactly we're going to do. So, I don't know, Audrey, do you want to kind of help since, lead the conversation? For those who don't know, the conference is, scheduled right now for April 12th and 13th in person in Holdrege, but for a couple of months now we've been working on the conference, but now we've come to the point where we really do need to make a decision soon about whether we are going to hold it in person, try to do a combination of in person and virtual, or all virtual, or postpone, or what. So Audrey, I don't know if you have anything you want to start off with.
Yes, our most recent thinking, which was about 2 or 3 weeks ago when the planning committee met, that we were going to investigate doing a virtual conference by hiring a company who would do it. And so we have, who has experience doing this. And so several people have given me information about companies, both Nebraska-based and elsewhere. One has actually done the Iowa Museums Association virtual meeting, and will be doing it again this year. But then we also have others who have done similar types of things for other types of entities. And so we can certainly research that as a possibility. I do, with at least one, have a general idea of cost, and it could be within our budget. And then if we did that, then we would just, again, have our meeting then in Holdrege, because Micah at Holdrege at the Nebraska Prairie Museum has done a lot of legwork on planning the local logistics. And so then maybe we would just slip that to 2022 in that spring time frame. So that's kind of our general feeling now, but that's just, you know, maybe 8 people. So that's why we really wanted to find out what the rest of you would think, and representing your particular areas and your particular situation and your particular age group. And are we all going to be ready to go in person the middle of April is really the question. So thoughts? It's mighty silent.
Yeah, April.
Is there any way to know, or there probably isn't at this time, but is there any way to like kind of estimate how many people would be in attendance? And would we be able to like maintain social distancing regulations?
Yeah, that is part of the issue that Micah from Holdrege had brought up at our last planning meeting, was that his facility is not really set up to do a lot of that if we had attendance that we would normally have, which we would think around 70. Sometimes when we've had been in Omaha or Lincoln area, we've had a larger attendance, population-wise, reflecting the population. But if we're not in those two areas, then 70 seems a reasonable number to guesstimate for. And so he thought maybe he could do social distancing at maybe 40. And then there's also the technical issues. Where the museum is located is not really in downtown Holdrege. It's really on the highway between the interstate and Holdrege. And so it's out of town just a bit on a lovely property. So he had some technical issues, I believe he said.
Yeah, he said he wasn't sure if he'd be able to do, you know, because we typically have 2 concurrent sessions on Tuesday throughout the day. He wasn't sure if he was going to be able to handle having all of that going on at the same time. So that was also a concern.
So that's why the idea of maybe a hybrid, doing Zoom, but doing in person, but then Zoom. We also were aware that there had been some experience-based examples where if you have a hybrid, it is whichever the smaller number of group is. If it's a small group that's on Zoom and everybody else is in person, then the Zoom people aren't quite as involved, and the vice versa. If more people on Zoom than in person, then the in-person people tend to feel left out inadvertently. No one's doing this purposely at all. And so we also took that into consideration. Is that really an effective way for a conference such as we hope to have? Good question. We also have a few people on this call who are agreeing to be presenters, and so we'd also like to hear from them. I think if it were virtual, it would be that we would get with those who have agreed to be presenters and work with whatever company we would perhaps go to, and that it would be somewhat of a professional production for their whatever they were planning to do, and what are they capable of doing. Can they do PowerPoint? Are they going to be very animated in person, recorded? And so that is another aspect that we would need to investigate with those who are already committed to be presenters.
Yeah, Brock, you had your hand up.
Yeah, I think I'm one of those presenters, Audrey. And so we have our annual meeting for the Buffalo County Historical Society that next Sunday following the NMA conference, and we're doing that all on virtual via Zoom. So is there a way that we can just have, I know you talked about doing hiring a company to do it, but is there a way that we can utilize the Zoom feature that we have here and have this as a, okay.
Yeah. What I was talking about with a company would be that they would kind of counsel us, and they would probably do the setup so you could do breakout sessions and all that kind of thing that you would normally have at a conference. They would handle what we would call kind of the behind the scenes technical aspects. And so that you have committed to be a presenter, and I think Katie has too. And so that presumably, and Lynn, yes, and and of course Karen was going to do a whole half-day workshop, and so that they would, I assume, would be having your presentations recorded in some way, and if you've already got it in a Zoom format, that presumably that would be easy. But this is all supposition on my part at this point.
Sure. And so when I was presenting
know what the questions would be, so that as we investigate a firm, we know what we're actually asking them.
Sure. And so when I had presented at the Maury Sandoz Heritage Center Sandoz Symposium that they had in September of this last year, they just had it in a Zoom meeting like this, and I don't think they even did any breakout sessions like that they would normally go into, and they had it recorded, and they had someone just monitoring the chat for any questions along those lines. But I would be all for one or the other. So it's either in person or it's virtual, so that way we don't feel like anyone's left out. Yeah. And I think just being still in the spring months, I would tend to go towards the virtual aspect myself.
Yeah, Katie, you had your hand up.
Along with that, I mean, obviously I'm just speaking about my museum. We just kind of assumed all conferences would be virtual, so we did not impact for travel. So there might be other museums in similar situations where they don't have money for travel. And I know for most of us, or a few of you, Holdrege is actually closer than some of the other journeys we've checked. But that might be a factor too, and just hotel space and people's comfort level. I'm personally lean more towards virtual myself. I'm not opposed to in person. I know those are more fun typically, but where it's unpredictable as it is, I think that might be the safer route. We don't have to worry about changing everything last minute. That way, no matter where you are, you can do it. And I kind of feel like a lot of the conference too might be more catered to what do we do in this awkward time when places are closing? And then it can be like a prime example, this is what we need to do.
That's a very good point, that we could ask the presenters if they're able to maybe address some of those issues of how they've amended or been extremely creative with their presentation, their programming or whatever in this unprecedented time.
Yeah. So especially my old topic was engaging in-person programming, which is fantastic, except when it's COVID and not in person. And so obviously we've switched everything virtual, and so sharing more of that versus in person.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah. Yeah. Tammy.
I am on the state genealogy, and they are having their conference strictly virtual, and it's the end of April, so it's 2 weeks after this one, and they are doing kind of the same kind of thing, but they're having the presenters recorded ahead of time and have them in a recorded part that way, but available in a, like the main speaker will be a live one, but it will be a recorded session that as you register, you're paying your registration in that way, that you can come back and watch those presenters at your own time in that. So it's kind of, but that's state genealogy, but that way you can, we're not having breakout sessions on top of each other, and that way you get the full part if you're doing the digital, so you can get all 7 of them rather than just 4 of them.
Mm-hmm. That's a very good point. Thank you. I know some of us have attended various conferences, either in whole or in part. And that was one thing that I appreciated, that the presenters were very adept, being in their homes, you know, presenting. And the other thing was then I had access to that. And so if I wanted to go and re-listen to it or re-watch it or just do a portion of it, I certainly was able to do that. And sometimes my note-taking leaves a lot to be desired. And so I appreciated that.
Yeah, Kirsten.
I was just going to say, as somebody who is new to NMA and trying to learn about what it is, my preference would be Zoom. To Katie's point, I don't think a lot of organizations have put in the budget for traveling this year. And I think by taking it virtual, you can also use it as a membership, great opportunity to increase your membership. I know as the executive director here, I'm looking for things for the staff to do that they can be doing during this slow time. And attending a conference like this via Zoom would be a great opportunity for them to learn and further their education. And so I think that there's a chance that you could increase your numbers and increase your membership opportunities as becoming a value to the state and to the museums around the state. So that would just be, like I said, to Katie's point, I don't think museums have it in the budget. We barely have it in the budget for staffing. You know what I mean? And trying to keep the doors open. So I think the most cost effective and giving education to the membership, I think, is going to be vital for this year.
Thank you. Really, really do appreciate that. I might also, in case you all haven't seen the chat from Lynn, the other point that she makes is that as the vaccine rollout seems to be on a slower pace than originally anticipated, that is another factor that is leaning toward virtual. Not leaning anymore, it's like bending over, it appears. Anybody else have any thoughts that we should consider? Because we certainly want to be cognizant of what the membership would feel most comfortable doing. So, and luckily we have a lot of age groups here, so that's good.
Yeah. Karen Kier.
So I guess my question is that a lot of our members and people we work with are smaller museums that may not have the technology. Is that a concern?
That's another good point. That is a very good point. We have several who are in sort of one-person operations on this call right now. So what do you all think of that? Tammy?
I have the capabilities of doing this, but this is my personal computer to do the Zoom in this way. But is the library available? Because our library is open. Is that available for that type of thing? And can they use Zoom on the library ones? Is that a choice of the smaller ones, or in that way?
That's a good point.
Right.
I guess it would depend on the city or the area.
Right. Yeah, because I think most
ours
public
is
libraries,
yeah, ours are doing things on open over there and various. They're actually doing a daddy-daughter date night for Valentine's here, which they've had for various years. But this year, yes, will be social distances throughout the library rather than in a concentrated area.
right. Yeah, public libraries, I mean, obviously they're open to the public, and I would think most have at least one computer available, hopefully, for, somebody to use. But yeah, and for the conference too, the computer doesn't have to have a camera on it. You just really need audio capabilities. And it's great if the speakers have a camera and you can see them, but for just participants, a camera isn't, vital at all.
Well, and if people could make their PowerPoints available before, we can upload those PowerPoints onto the website so the people who don't have cameras could follow along on, like, say, a PDF of the PowerPoint.
Right. Yeah, and we can certainly make all of the sessions available afterwards too. And that has been one great thing about, you know, virtual conferences that I've attended in the past years, that I've been able to rewatch stuff, you know, even if it's concurrent sessions or I want to rewatch something I already attended. That's been really beneficial.
One thing to keep in mind is breakouts don't record. So when groups do go out into their breakouts, whatever was discussed there isn't going to be on that recording. It's only what's in the live meeting.
Okay.
That's interesting because it's also possible then that we would amend the format, and maybe we don't actually do breakout sessions because we want everybody to be available whenever, and so there might be some way to try and work about that, and that would be the advantage of getting with a firm that's done this before, and they might have some ideas that's effective. And those of you also who have attended such conferences, you may have seen something that really worked well, and we can see if that's possible for us to do too. It's all new for everybody, I'm sure. The other thing is you don't really need a desktop, you don't need a laptop. You can use desktop, you can use a laptop, you can use a tablet, and you can use a smartphone.
Oh, yep. It just isn't as near as convenient to watch on the phone as it is this bigger screen, but it can get the job done.
Yeah, right. So at least you would get the audio with just a phone in the perhaps most basic level, I think.
I guess as a side note, or just want to double check with Karen Kier. So if to me, it sounds like everybody, we're leaning toward a virtual one. That's kind of what I've been hearing. So how hard, not to put a lot on you, but you're the web person, how hard is it going to be to set up that page or that members only section, or how hard is it going to be to get this stuff on the website? I mean, are we creating a lot of work for you, or do you have any idea? I just want to make sure that we're just not dumping everything onto our website and you're just so overwhelmed that, you know, so do you have any idea how this might work? Or
My only concern is with the recordings and the PowerPoints and stuff is that we might run out of space on our server, but I can check on that.
I would also think that would be the firm that we would engage to work with us, that would be something that they would understand what that would need to be, and maybe they personally have a site. I know that the Iowa Museums Association, they've spent money to have them, this company, develop the format for them. And so presumably they also knew how to host it. But the advantage of us doing this now is that there are companies out there who have done museum conferences now. And so it's not reinventing the wheel. It's just finding the right company that's a good match for us.
You already have some in mind for the companies that would do the setup in that, Audrey?
Yes, we have, I think I have about 4 possible names now that have come from, you know, various other people who have done this. Certainly the Iowa Museums. I know that Kelly sent me one for another organization that she's involved with. So I'm willing to take all those in and just sort of start checking with them all.
Yeah.
I didn't want to kind of, if there wasn't consensus about what we were wanting to do, I didn't start checking with anybody, because if you're a business and you're taking time to do a proposal and then nothing comes of it, I mean, that's part of business, but in this time I want to be respectful of time, everyone's time.
And if it were to overload the NMA website, why couldn't we just post it to our social media site and have it there? That would be one other alternative. That would be the cheapest and freest way to go about it.
Okay.
That's true. Very true.
We did a giant murder mystery downtown where they had evidence videos, and we just uploaded them on our YouTube but didn't make it published. So as long as they had the link, they could access all the videos, but like an outsider couldn't access it unless they had that link. And then that way it's all on YouTube storage.
Oh,
and you can have the links to that on it versus using our storage for it. And the added perk is then YouTube adds closed captioning. It's not the greatest, but we transcribed all of our summer fun, and YouTube definitely is a much better deal than transcribing. That's not fun.
Yep, I like that idea better than mine. You built on it. Good job, Katie.
Yeah,
because-
that'll be easy to set up.
Yeah.
And we don't have like a members only type site, a login right now, do we?
No.
Because the state
really.
genealogy does have the members only login, and that's where they're going to have that access. So there's a different,
Right.
So that might be, that way.
I did have one set up. Like there was like a message board on the website, but nobody used it, so I kind of took it down just because it wasn't.
Even with like a YouTube channel, you can invite certain emails. So part of your registration form or whatever it is, you can get that email, and then that can be emailed out and sent out just to those individuals through that private account that Katie was talking about. So that would be actually, I think, a really great solution. So that way they have to pay before and it's there once the email blast goes back to them.
Yeah.
The other thing I'm thinking about is that we would need to get with all of the presenters that are now committed and see if this is something they're comfortable doing. And if not, they might be able to be held over toward the 2022 conference as presenters. So we might have a little bit of slippage anyway, just in terms of the program that we've set out right now. So, this is very helpful to kind of know the direction we're going, and then we can maybe go into warp speed now in terms of planning it more effectively.
So my other thought is, I would assume that the company would also help with registrations.
That's a good question too. Yes. I don't know.
And then my other question is, which we can do the registrations. We've got that set up as a form on the website, and it's easy enough to do. But if they can do that too, that
would be good.
And then I guess my other question is that our conference is one of our major income.
Mm-hmm.
Would we still be charging? And I assume since we have to pay for the company,
right?
We would.
I would think so. I think that there would still be, my guess would still be, there would still be a registration fee that would primarily pay for the virtual technical aspect of it.
Right. The company
to call in expertise, basically, to help us pull it on in a professional manner. And so presumably it might be a little less because we wouldn't be needing to cover maybe a lunch, or that sort of thing. Although those are relatively minor compared to other things. And for guest speakers, keynote speakers, maybe we would still do an honorarium, but probably it wouldn't be travel as well, which is what we have typically done. So my first guess without putting pencil to paper would be that the registration might be a little bit less than what's been in the past.
I mean, we've always kept it right around, what is it, 35 or 40?
Something in that neighborhood, yeah.
Yeah, so it's fairly affordable because we've always wanted it to be affordable.
For those of you who have not, who talked about not budgeting for travel this year, would that level of registration still fit within your budget? Kirsten, I think you were the one that brought that up. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Karen Wagoner. Yeah. Okay. So good to see everybody. Nodding of heads is helpful.
Yeah. And Tammy, you had your hand up.
And we did with the state genealogy. We did not go to the free part, but we do have a reduced for sure. About half of what our regular one was. So that's kind of about what we have. A little over half is what we did to cover the cost. And that then those recordings are available for a time frame afterwards. So it's not just that day or that week, but it's a little bit of a time. So you can catch it in that little bit of time. So set it up and how long it can be viewed that way. So, yeah.
And we've always done scholarships too, so.
Yes, that our whole point is to be a sustainable organization, so we need to cover our costs, but by the same token, it's very important is to be as inclusive as possible to the museum community in Nebraska. I see Vonda has joined us.
Yes, yep. Yeah, and April was able to rejoin us. She said her meeting was canceled. So.
Well, we're sorry that meeting was canceled, but good to have you again, April. I can't tell you how helpful this is to the planning committee. This is excellent.
Yeah, this has been a really good discussion, so thank you.
Yeah. Of course, you all know that now you're all committed to the conference.
Yeah, but I think, the point too about, museums not budgeting for travel, this year, I think, well, one, it's a very valid, thing to not budget for this year. But yeah, hopefully if we do, because I think normal conference registration, I think is $30 if you're a member and $45 if you aren't a member. I think. Don't quote me on that, but I think it's something like that. So even if, our registration fees stayed around there, I hope that wouldn't be too much of a burden, for museums. And yes, we do have scholarships available too. So if that is a problem, then we can still hopefully, help get people to attend that maybe couldn't afford that either. So.
And it also occurs to me that if any of the presenters have documentation for some of their remarks, studies that they have referenced or something like that, links to those studies could also be easily made a part of it and available for a certain length of time afterwards, so that the registration has value beyond just that particular day.
Right. Yeah.
I think too, oh, go ahead. I was just gonna say, I think too, you guys might want to consider an institution price for like the smaller places that only have like one computer. They could potentially have 3 people wanting to join in.
Yeah.
Oh.
And kind of give them like please have all your staff come and watch this and participate and bring ideas. Here's the price, because then they might be able to do, like, more museums might be able to have more people present,
right,
versus if not. So I know in our case, we have a brand new educator we hired right before COVID. So that was great. And thankfully we've been able to keep her, but like she would be one that would benefit greatly from this. But if they already are paying for me to go, and then if Roseanne wants to go, and now her, it's a lot more.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's not that in a virtual setting, it's not that there's any increased cost from an NMA standpoint. These are all just, collectively, you're all just brilliant.
Yep.
We all are
and
just brilliant.
And I just thought of one thing, one speaker that we were, I was in contact with was already, and this actually isn't because of the, COVID or the pandemic or anything, wasn't sure if she was going to be able to travel to the conference. She's a single mother, so just, trying to, and coming from Omaha, and how that was going to work. So she had already asked if there was a way that, it would be a lot easier for her to attend if she did it virtually. So we do have a speaker that wasn't sure she could, like in any year, attend, in person. So yeah, we actually might be able to get her then if we do it virtually.
And the thing that, of course, that we're giving up with the virtual conference is that networking. But I'm looking at just all that we're doing within this session right now. And those of you I didn't know terribly well, or if at all, I feel I know you better now. And if I needed to reach out to you for some particular topic, I would feel perhaps more comfortable in doing that. So I wouldn't advocate that we do this going forward forevermore, but it still has a networking aspect in this kind of a format.
Right, yeah. And one thing we can look into, doing a virtual conference, we can still have kind of a, social hour, sort of time too, where we're all just kind of talking like this. We, don't necessarily have, we could think of a sort of a topic to get people started off. And depending on how many people we thought were going to join, we could, try different, breakout rooms. So if you want to talk about this topic or talk about that topic, it doesn't even have to be museum related because it's just social hour, or we can try it all in one group. It just depends how many people, because I don't really want to have 50 people all in, one, Zoom trying to have a conversation. That is not going to work. We would definitely need breakout rooms, but we can certainly build in, Monday night or something, just like a social hour.
The only other question that I have is, this is also our annual meeting.
Right.
So how are we going to address that aspect of it? I mean, yes, we can record all these things, but we still have to have an annual meeting or a meeting of some sort.
Yeah, I think the annual meeting would have to be live because people, are voting. I mean, I guess we can try, like a virtual voting, after the conference or something, but I would be fine. And for that, because it's not as much of just, conversation back and forth the whole time. We'll have an agenda, for the meeting, elect, new board members, and that, but I think probably would be best if we did live. And we can, I don't know, Audrey, that might be, because I know I've been in, several Zooms where they've, you've like voted, they put a little screen up, you vote, and they can show the results. Actually just did one again a couple of days ago. So if that, I'm not sure, if they have, they are the ones who can do like a poll just for voting. And so,
just about any Zoom account can do polls like that.
Okay.
And even if it's something pops up last minute, if someone is on the profile, they can quick type it in and then pop it up.
Okay.
We've had to do that a few times.
Okay.
There's a little reactions button at the bottom. If you see I have a thumbs up, all you have to do is on that reactions button.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Put a smiley face that comes up or a wave.
I've done the thumbs up for voting, but I've also done like a screen where they've had, we like pick selections or something. So yeah, and even for most of our votes, I think it's like a yay, nay sort of thing. So you're right, that thumbs up and the reactions would be fine too.
Well, the only thing I would ask for those of you who are more technologically savvy, the planning committee may be calling on you for just helping us understand how this might work. Maybe I'm speaking more for myself, but at any rate, some of you are clearly much more on top of the technology of all this. And so we might kind of call on you to just give us your counsel.
I was just going to say, I think I would do a mixture of your live and recorded. All of us are in Zoom hell. We feel like we live in a Brady Bunch box. And so the more that you can do live, I think the speaker's probably going to feel a little bit better because you're going to get the head nods, you're going to get the reactions from the people. And I think you're going to engage your audience a little bit better than if it was a recording. A recording, it's going to be easier to just kind of click in and out of it or be like, maybe this isn't for me and leave. Versus if it's live, I think it's going to be better for the speaker and I think it's going to be better for your audience as well. So they can always do screen shares and do their PowerPoints, you know what I mean, that way. But I just, I would encourage you to focus more on a live versus too much recording.
Okay, very good point. Thank you. Well, we're coming up in almost an hour.
Yeah.
45 minutes now almost. So I just to wrap up in my mind, you've given us great direction for the planning committee. We will go with virtual and then we'll plan for Holdrege in 2022 so that some of those local attractions we were going to be seeing and all that. And then we'll start working on this. And so stay tuned and help us where you can. Give us your feedback on things.
Yep.
As we go forward so that we make it as acceptable as possible to as many as possible.
Right. Yeah. Thank you everybody for participating in this call. Our monthly, conversations, this one was timely and we really did need to talk to about the conference, and we wanted people's, opinions about, all of this. So this has been great. Our future conversations will probably, go back to more, obviously timely topics, but maybe not just NMA as an organization based. But if you have any topics you would like to talk about in the future, and it could be a project you're working on that you need some advice on, and you just want to, crowdsource some stuff, or, something you've heard about in the news or something related to museum work or something, feel free to let me or another board member know, and we can certainly get you on the schedule. We actually don't have any set topics coming up. So yeah, we're looking for something for February. So if you have anything, we would welcome any ideas.
I see that Kirsten's already suggested virtual field trips.
It is something that we are really getting into here at the Spike, and it is becoming a very big way that kids are doing field trips now. And so I'm always looking for ideas of how to improve our virtual field trips.
And I would love to tell people what to avoid with that. We made some rookie mistakes.
Okay.
We got on the VFT trend very early on, and at the time, no one knew any better. And now there's stuff, it's like, oh, we have this giant TV. Oh, but by the way, you can't move it now, so maybe that cheaper thing was better. So I would gladly like to share, please don't do this. Learn from our mistake.
Yeah.
Katie, would
I've
you be
always
willing
felt
to
I've learned a lot more from my errors than from what went well.
Katie, would you be willing to lead the discussion?
Sure.
Okay,
We
great.
have about 10 of them, so.
Great.
ESU is a really great way to get involved with the education service units. That's who's been really big in Nebraska, that's been helping with the virtual field trips. And I would love to learn how to market them. So not in addition to doing them, but how to market them. But the ESUs are really, have been helpful with that.
Yeah, in fact, a lot of ESUs have equipment they are willing to lend to small museums to play with and to practice, and teachers can have that stuff as well. So once you get that ESU person on your side, they will knock on every door for you, and then you feel very accomplished because they're that into the school, and a lot of times they'll troubleshoot with you too before you go live in front of 20 very judgmental fifth graders.
So that will be February 26th on virtual field trips will be the topic.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. Tammy.
I would definitely go for the how to do the virtual tour of pluses on that part and avoid the other parts. It's like, I can do some, but it's like, I'll wait for how to do it.
I've literally started making a list of things I wish I would have known, because a lot of our smaller entities have started coming to us, and I'm like, yeah, you could get that $2,000 cart, but an iPad works a lot better for some of this. Mm-hmm. And I might see too if Annie from UNL can chime on, because she's been an amazing partner with us. Yep. And they've just done a whole rehaul of, they were probably one of the first ones in Nebraska to do it.
I think so. I was actually going to suggest, somebody from Morrill Hall having, Annie Mungard does a lot of them. I think she's really an expert with it. So.
I think some examples of how they do them would be great. So you were talking about how you like to go to the different attractions. This is your way to go to an attraction. So maybe even have one of them give an example of what it looks like.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah. Karen Wagner.
Yep. Actually, that would be great for us too. The archives are technically in the construction zone for the entire time of the project. And so I haven't been able to have anybody down here for a couple of years. And I would love to be able to show, we don't do a lot of tours in the archives, but I do enough that I feel like people are missing out on stuff and they're not learning about all of these resources. And if I could have something recorded, hell, I could share it with the contractors, and the guys in the hallway would understand why I'm so bitchy when they do. So sign me up.
Yeah, we've been doing museum minutes where we kind of take them in, and that's what our following on social media has really gotten into. Now we have people, I record a bunch Monday because we've had requests for more experiments, and they have pointed out I haven't done any lately. Apparently they track it a little bit better than we do. But yeah, that stuff, and a lot of it too, I think institutions make it really complicated to the point it's really scary to jump in. We have a team of education and we were petrified jumping in, and really all you need is internet and a tablet. and then you can go virtual. And there's ways to do it with no cost, which I feel like don't get shared because everyone's like, you need to go through this path, and you see the $1,000 a year price tag, and you're like, or not.
Yeah, and we do our virtual Fabulous Friday programs, and all I have is a smartphone and a stand, and we do that on Facebook Live, and we get sometimes 30 to 40 people watching at one time. So that's pretty incredible that people have still tried to maintain that.
Yeah, and I just pulled up the date. So yeah, our next monthly museum musings will be on Friday, February 26th at 10:30 a.m. Central Time, 9:30 a.m. Mountain Time. So yeah, I think, virtual field trips is a great topic. Yeah, Tammy.
I would ask, Kirsten talked about how to market them. I would like to have that added a little bit in there if that could, because everybody has some different little platform, but it's like, what is the different parts? So to go with, once you get them done, then where do you put, or how do you get them out and do that part? So yeah.
I was going to say, so the virtual field trips that I'm talking about is, I think it's great, like you're doing your Facebook Lives and that kind of stuff. We actually go into the schools. So like this week, we have 3 virtual field trips, and it's a 30 to 35 minute virtual field trip that we are doing with classes. So we do an actual class. So they're about 30 to 35 minutes. You don't want to do much longer, but how to engage the kids, how to educate the kids. And we charge the classrooms for it. It's just like if they were coming to our attraction.
Yeah, and that's something we do too. We just cranked out a bunch of them, and schools are now getting more comfortable with Zoom to the point they're booking them and showing you guys like what we do with the teacher beforehand. Like, I don't know if you guys have like a questionnaire where you kind of chat with them, see what the classroom set up, giving them their resources and all that kind of stuff.
Great. Well, it is looking like it's 11:30 now, so unless anybody has any final comments or anything, this has been a great conversation, both for the conference, but then for our February topic too. This will be wonderful. So I'd like to thank everybody for joining us and hope to see everybody back in February for a topic on virtual field trips. And we will keep everybody apprised of the conference and how we're going with that, and letting everybody know what the virtual option is. So thank you everybody for joining. We'll see you next month. Bye.